Robert H. Hinckley was a man of action. Bitten by the aviation bug early in life, he took his first flight with famed German aviator Melli Beese in 1913. But it was his penchant for politics and his organizational skills that made Hinckley a pivotal figure in American aviation, business, and public service. Born in Fillmore, Utah, Hinckley graduated from Brigham Young High School in 1910 and from Brigham Young University in 1916. That same year, he established his first car dealership, the Seeley Hinckley Automobile Company, located in Mount Pleasant, Utah. Robert Hinckley felt it was every American's duty to participate in the political process. So in 1918, he was elected to the Utah State Legislature from Sanpete County. 5 years later, he was elected mayor of Mount Pleasant. In 1927, Robert Hinckley moved his Dodge dealership and family from Mount Pleasant to Ogden. Once established, Hinckley became active in local business, civic, and state affairs. He also helped create a local aviation company called Utah Pacific Airways.
My grandfather, Robert Hinckley, was the founder of Utah Pacific Airways, and he was a person who could see the road ahead. He had a vision of the future, and he was excited about the future, so he not only envisioned it, he engaged in it.
Utah Pacific Airways was a pioneer in the early days of commercial flight. The largest fixed-base operator in the Rocky Mountain region, Utah Pacific was an aircraft dealer, carried thousands of charter passengers, and taught hundreds of students to fly during Hinckley's decade-long association with the company. With the arrival of the Great Depression, however, Hinckley left Utah Pacific to focus his efforts on running his car dealerships. He also became involved with Utah's Voluntary Relief Committee as a way of distributing aid to the poor. His success in distributing relief funds in Utah caught the attention of Washington, and in 1934, Hinckley rose to the position of Utah Director for President Roosevelt's New Deal.
He went to work for the Roosevelt administration. I think one of the first things that he did was, with the Civilian Conservation Corps, he went around the country building airports.
In 1938, President Franklin Roosevelt, by now well acquainted with Hinckley's leadership skills, appointed him to the Civil Aeronautics Authority, the forerunner to today's FAA. His first project was to oversee the construction of National Airport in Washington, D.C. Under his leadership, this pivotal airport was completed both under budget and well ahead of schedule.
And I want to say it in my behalf, and I think in yours. Well done. The Commander-in-Chief's compliments and thanks to all hands.
The next year, the President promoted Hinckley to chairman of the Civil Aeronautics Authority and called upon him to create an educational base from which aviation could flourish. This became known as the Civilian Pilot Training Program, or CPTP, an idea long favored by Hinckley. The Civilian Pilot Training Program enlisted the support of colleges and universities nationwide to provide ground school and flight training for young men and women. The goal was not only to cultivate pilots for the military, but also to prepare a generation of pilots for private and commercial aviation. By the end of June 1942, the CPTP had trained more than 98,000 pilots. Many of these men went on to serve in World War II, both as frontline pilots and in cargo and transport roles. The famed African-American pilots known as the Tuskegee Airmen also came into being because of the Civilian Pilot Training Program. Without Hinckley's efforts, the United States would have been critically short of pilots during the early years of World War II. Hinckley went on to serve the federal government as the Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Air, and later directed the Office of Contract Settlement in the immediate post-war years, a crucial position to help industry shift back to a peacetime economy. In these positions, Hinckley proved himself to be, in the words of one colleague, one of the real heroes of the Second World War. But the end of the war didn't mean that Hinckley would rest on his laurels. In 1946, he joined with a colleague to found the American Broadcasting Company, and over the next 2 decades, helped to build the company into the major network it is today. Robert H. Hinckley believed that politics was an honorable, decent, and necessary aspect of American society. So in 1965, he established the Hinckley Institute of Politics at the University of Utah to promote respect for politics and to teach the honorable principles of citizen involvement in government.
Close to the end of his life, he told me that he thought the most important thing that he had done in his lifetime was to establish the Hinckley Institute of Politics.